Hi there, everybody. I'm Sherry Johnson. Welcome to RISMedia Broker Webinar Series, where we are bringing an amazing show for you today. Amazing content from two iconic leaders in the nation. I'm so excited. I'm Sherry Johnson. I'm going to be your moderator, and I'm about to introduce our panelists here. But before I do, please know that you can go into the chat and tell us where you're tuning in from. Let us know you're here. Let us know what what city and state you're calling in from. And then if you have questions that you would like us to cover, please put those questions in the chat. We will try to cover as many questions as we can. Today we're talking about pathways to profitability, rock solid growth strategies. And again, we've got two of the country's finest leaders and broker owners and people that are going to just give you so many takeaways. I hope you have your pens ready. I hope you're listening. We are recording this broadcast, and a copy of this recording will be emailed out to you, compliments of RISMedia. So let me get started. And again, real quickly, I'm Sherry Johnson, CEO and founder of Sherry Johnson Coaching and Consulting. I'm ecstatic to be today's moderator. I think there's so much benefit from learning best practices from RISMedia, bringing together the industry's best. And again, today, this can be a better, more timely topic about how we can help you massively grow your company with some strategies you can put together in place right away. Today's webinar is being sponsored by United Real Estate, and President Rick Haas is on. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Sherry, how are you?
I'm Good fabulous. Great to see you. Yeah. So, Rick, do a quick introduction. Let us know a little bit about your company and where you're calling in from and where you're located.
Okay, great. And first, Sherry, thanks for being here to facilitate. Lennox, you know how I feel about you, years and years of respect in the way you conduct yourself and grow your company's integrity and adherence to just some great principles in the real estate business. So thank you for being here, both of you. United Real Estate, Sherry, is actually comprised of 4 different business units. The first and oldest is a nearly 100-year-old part of our company. It's called United Country Real Estate. And the best, I'm actually here in just outside of Austin, Texas, at our annual conference. And the way you think about a United Country is that it's a lifestyle brand. It's any place you can see the stars. Wide open spaces, farm and ranch, hunting and fishing, large land tracts, and real country real estate is one of our business units, United Country. That part of the company has about 3,000 real estate agents, and there's some background noise in somebody's, I know it's coming through a little loud here. Who do you think that might be? So yeah, that's gone now. So, United Country also boasts a giant auction division. We do a lot of property auctions as a first line of acquisition and disposition of those country properties. And so that's United Country. The younger part of the company, it's called United Real Estate. And United Real Estate is a transaction fee model company. And it's 12 years old, and we just crossed over the 17,000 mark in the company-owned portion of the business, plus 4,000 agents in our brokerage network. So all in, United Country is 24,000 real estate agents doing business in 43 states. We've had kind of a very notable growth because since about the time just before COVID, we've raised in rank from 139th. In transactions and agent count to 6th largest. And so that's the 3 floors worth of elevator speech about who United Real Estate is.
Wow. And I have to tell you, I've known you now probably about 7 years, and I know we both are from Cleveland and literally neighbors when you used to live in Cleveland. I can believe the growth you've had. That is absolutely outstanding, and congratulations. What a trajectory. That is really fantastic. 43 states and 24,000 agents, number 6 in status. That's unreal. Love it.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. So our next guest, also a dear friend of mine, Lennox Scott from John L. Scott out in Washington State. Good afternoon, Lennox. It's so good to see you.
Well, thank you, Sherry. And it's great being on a panel. We've had Sherry out at our convention at John L. Scott Real Estate as our keynote. And just really appreciate the energy you brought to our company. And Rick, what a treat to be on a panel with you. We've grown up in the real estate industry together, and I just admire what you're accomplishing. And you've always been right there for educating the real estate industry. So thanks for the invitation to be part of the panel today. So John L. Scott Real Estate, we're a 93-year-old company. We're only 7 years away from our 100th anniversary. We're in the states of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. We have approximately 100 offices, do tens of thousands of transactions, and we just focus in on being the personal representative for our clients and transactional excellence. That's our game plan, what we do. So thank you.
Well, and you do it so exceptionally well. Everything from the tools you provide your agents. I don't think there's another company, Lennox, I've seen a lot. I work with a lot of companies all over the country, and just the way you focus in on, and we're going to hear about some of these strategies you're doing because I know you're going to share them, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but the presentation of your tools, you're ahead of everything. You're years ahead of most companies with your innovation, and your literally like your social media strategy was out years before. I mean, 6-7 years ago, I had an employee who worked for you who moved back to Ohio, and she told me, you need to go to John L. Scott. And I think she was really the precipitous of that happening. But when she showed me the tools you were using in social media 7 years ago, way before anybody was doing, they're just great. So congratulations to you and your entire company. You're so admired around the company as well by so many. So I forgot to change this. Our purpose today is to have a conversation that helps our listeners, the broker owners, managers, anyone who's joining us today, to look at their business and say, how can we implement some strategies that will drive revenue and help us to grow, help us to add more value to our agents, create raving fans, help us recruit better, whether that's in training and coaching, whether that's in recruitment strategies. I'd like to start with Lennox, with you, and ask you, what are some of those specific strategies you're doing and we've got a whole full 45 minutes here to talk about many things, so we'll kind of take turns here. But if you could share and start with one strategy that you've implemented that is working to help grow top line revenue or profit in your company.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to just go over a couple concepts that we implement within the company. In 2021, when the market started changing, that's when we took a look at things, because the number of listings started coming down, and businesses was off around over the last couple of years, off 40% from those 3% interest rate market to the 7% we have today. And so we came up with the mantra. It's be business smart, be proactive and business smart. So the proactive was work on strategies for business development to help our broker associates, and business smart was be cost efficient and effective with our expenses. And that was our approach. And a very timely topic right here is just to affirm with our audience here today, remind and inspire on some of these items. So our success plan, continues. It's positive mindset, skill mastery, and personal engagement activities. So those are the three categories that we work on. But one of the business concept is is vital few and then important many. So vital few is what are the one or two items that drive our revenues, and everything else is an important many. And we already walk in excellence in all of those items, so that we can put the extra focus where what drives revenues. And those two items are, of course, selective recruiting and everyone productive. And so we have another term, frequency of focus. So because those are our vital two, we focus on them every month. We have an executive meeting on those two, a strategy meeting on those two topics. And then our whole executive team, office leaders, the whole team, we implement those throughout the company. So selective recruiting and everyone productive. How do we help we have the concept good to great, great to greatness. How do we help people go to that next level up? How do they continue to walk in greatness in their business practice? And those are just some business principles I just want to put out there.
Well, I love, recruiting with a focus and selective recruiting and everyone productive. I mean, those caption phrases right there just describe that is a laser focus. Is that being deployed out through your leadership team, your sales managers? How is that? How does that reach the agent?
It's through our office leadership group. They're the ones that are implementing with, of course, the support of our service center in training, technology, getting the information to our office leaders to be able to quick glance it, to be able to figure out who to be talking with and how to help move the conversation forward. So it is through our office leaders is our implementation.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you a little bit about how you're tracking and really ensuring results and how you're tracking and what those results look like in a moment. I'm going to go back over to Rick and say, Rick, what are some strategies you're using at United across the board that are moving the needle and growing revenue and profit on purpose?
Well, at a high level, Sherry, it's a strict adherence to our mission, and our mission is to change and improve the financial trajectory of our brokers and agents' careers and lives. And that's easy to say, but it goes further to say by delivering the products, tools, and services that they need to deliver differentiating excellence in customer service or client services. And as long as, I get a lot of, you can imagine, we get a lot of requests for try this new bell or this new whistle, or let's go this way. And we can reinvent your company if we do all this. And those kinds of things always get looked at first from the screen of does it support our mission? And if the answer at the outset is no, it really doesn't support the mission, we don't waste our time and energy developing it or deploying it. I think that mission focus, if the mission is correct and you have the discipline to focus on it, then it helps set your priorities. So our 3 priorities from driving enterprise growth are block and tackle recruiting every day. It's a little bit of a poor term, but in the von Clausewitz, matters of war, it's what's our weapons fire rate? How often is our message of value being told to somebody that we've identified that we want to be in our company? So net agent count growth is what we're tracking, but how do we track it? By first, we pay attention to block and tackle recruiting. How many agents are joining us, and what is if their experience, what is their productivity versus how many are retiring out of the business or seeking to have their career somewhere else. Then we do a lot of mergers and acquisitions work. Our runway is very full. I think we're at 13 in the last 4.5 years acquired companies. That makes for about I don't know, 40 over the last 10 years that I've been involved in. And then franchise network growth. Now, we don't even call it franchise, but our network of independently owned and operated brokerages that we're supporting by delivering our products, tools, and services to them has grown and continues to grow. You probably saw the announcement with Premier Plus in Naples, Florida. 1,500 agents just joined us last week or 2 weeks ago. And what a fine organization. So block and tackle recruiting, mergers and acquisitions, and franchise or affiliate network growth. Those are the 3 primary areas. We look at, are we delivering the products, tools, and services that they need to succeed with their clients? And I know it might sound a little bit trite, but if we focus on that, the outcomes will be there. and that's it. And there's a discussion you're probably going to ask about, I can touch on later, which is the back door. How do we deal with retention? And if that comes up, we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, and two things you hit me hard with, and I'm listening, and I'm thinking, when you said if it doesn't fit our mission, we make a conscious decision not to do it. And I think that I don't want that to just get glossed over. I think so many times brokers are out there right now trying to do too many things, and it really needs to be a smaller amount of WIGs, wildly important goals. We have too many things. We're not getting any of them done. And, and instead just focusing on, does this fit our vision? Does it fit our mission? And if the answer is no, or we're not sure, it's pretty clear that it's, it doesn't need your attention right now. And then your real hyper focus on how many people are we talking to. And I love that you said it that way, because I coach managers on, how many people did you recruit on purpose that you actually recruited yourself, right? By the conversations and relationships you're building. But how many times, you just said it, how many times are we telling people about our opportunity? And I think said that way makes recruiting gives people a different perspective on how recruiting can be wildly successful and really everyone's best friend. I think sometimes people don't want to do that part, right? But it is that is one of the easiest ways for growth. So go ahead and comment on those two
one
things
of our core values, now not to be confused with the value proposition, because culture is one of our value propositions we pay a lot of attention to, and culture has a component called values. So one of our cultural values is growth. But if we say we're a growth company, but we're a well-kept secret, then are we really focused? I mean, is that really a value? So that's why the weapons fire rate and how many people are we talking to, how many people that we've identified that we want to talk to are hearing the message of value. And that's it's one of our monthly KPIs. We go through them. It's really interesting. I talked to our 135 brokers, owners, and managers every month in a national leadership call. And Lennox, I like how you said, through our office leaders, if they're not engaged, if they're not passionate, if they're not commitment, if they don't have the commitment, and they don't know the story of value, then there's nothing that our officers or home office team can do. I called in all of our operations team, what you might call business process or department leaders. We had them come into Dallas a 3 weeks ago, and we sat and we said, here are our organizational priorities going forward for 2024 and beyond. What are your department or business unit priorities? What are your tasks and projects that you want to get done this year? And then we mapped them literally on the long wall. We mapped them and said, and by the way, if somebody had a project that didn't have a spot to put it on, one of our organizational priorities, then we called it's an orphan project. And how does it support the mission and vision? If it doesn't, then it's got to be put on the back burner. It'd be nice to do, but it's not essential. And right now, we need to be focused more than ever on essentials, things that drive the KPIs.
So I like what Rick is saying. We're both saying the same thing. Narrow your focus for greater results. And you were referring to this, Sherry. And so, and that's the vital few, because we already, all of us, walk in excellence in the day-to-day activities that we're doing. So let's talk about one of them, which is the experienced broker recruiting or bringing in roll-ins or acquisitions. Both are similar processes of identifying individuals. And so it takes a deliberate and focused, intentional approach. One way that we do this as a company is we have what we call office peer groups. So around each one of our residential offices, there's a peer group of all of our competitors, no matter if they fit our formula or not, all of our competitors, and we track each individual broker within each of those offices. So we know which brokers are productive, which are up and coming, what's taking place, and then we go through the list of who fits our culture. Not only the company, if we're thinking about a roll-in, and maybe you might have, for many offices, let's say 12 competitors. They're in your peer group. And of that 12, there might be 3 that you really are going to target or fit your culture. And then it comes down to relationship first, of getting to know the owner and seeing where the commonalities are. Because right now, the listening is open for people looking at options. It's never been so great as we're seeing right now in this industry. Yeah. And you want it to be a win-win-win situation, a win for the current owner of the other company, a win for their agents in their company, because normally we would have more programs and a focus of a management support team available, and then a win for us at John O. Scott Real Estate. So it's a win-win-win situation that we're seeing for roll-ins. Just as Rick was saying, you've done a lot of roll-ins, and we are also in our particular region. The other thing for experienced brokers is that we do have, our office leaders have a database. We call it Top Talent Database. And then we break it into the A, B, C, D. The A is for those individuals that we're in relationship with, that there's a good possibility. And we call it our top 10. That's what we try to shoot for, is to have 10. It could be 12, it could be 8. But focus on today. Here's some individuals. I don't need to be getting ready to get ready. It's here's the individuals I currently know right now that I can be engaged with. And then B item is they fit our culture. They'd be a joy to work with. They're a professional in the industry, but it's more of a long-term approach. C is I don't know who they are. So I've got to work through it and cross transaction cards or talking to my brokers about the individuals in certain companies and offices to see if it's a right fit for us to put into at least into our B list, and then maybe I can elevate them up to A. And then D is just not at this time. Maybe they're part-time, it's just not right timing for that individual. So so we have our list because it's a finite list of individuals that we're talking about here, but it's a methodical, deliberate process for both experienced brokers and for roll-ins, and it keeps the conversation alive. We send these reports out each month to our office leaders to keep the conversation alive, and our regionals, of course, have those conversations.
How else are you holding them accountable to those goals? Do you have a weekly call? Is the regional responsible for coaching those sales leaders, office leaders?
And I would call it more of a collaboration, and and what Rick was saying, we sense and track how we're doing. Because otherwise the conversation disappears. Without frequency of focus, every conversation will disappear to the back burner. So just keeping it focused by sending it out to them in our regional meetings, going over it, one-on-ones between our regional and the office leader. They call me on occasion to make a phone call, and I'll do that every single time to be able to chat with someone to affirm the office leader, the office, the energy, where we are, where we're going as a company.
Okay, wait, Sherry, could I add something to? It's really interesting. We in our leadership meetings, we do, of course, a KPI review. That is, we look at all the driving, all the levers, all the metrics that we need to be tracking: net agent count, experienced agent count, new agent count, how many people left us. We look at the operating expenses of our business units. This is monthly. And then we look at our net profit and how it's tracking to goal and or to plan, and how it's tracking to last year. So we know that stuff. But in the interim, I think it's where the wins really happen. And that has to do with tracking and measuring the activities that lead to that. So we have mechanisms that throughout the month, we pay attention to activities, and those are some of them automated, so we can see the work that our branch leaders are doing and our department heads are doing, and some of it's manual. But we grind it out, we pay attention to the activities, and then we measure the results of that on a monthly basis. It's kind of like I took piano late in life, and I wanted to learn a particular song. It's a long story, but I wanted to learn a particular piece on the piano, and the School of Fine Arts wouldn't let me do it that way. They said we have to take you back to zero, and we want you to really understand how to play. So I got 2 lessons, one at the Fine Arts and one with that instructor at his house. And I remember when he said to me, "Rick, you're not going to learn the piano in the lesson. You're going to learn the piano, and you're going to develop your skill between the lessons." And so our KPI calls actually act as a report on how much we've learned, but we've learned it throughout the month. And we measure that in terms of how many activities and how many of our recruiting systems are being used and our marketing systems are being used. So from leadership,
awesome.
that's what I pay attention to.
Yeah, and you're looking at specific KPIs. I'm a firm believer in that. I also like the net gain and looking at it every single, not once a quarter, not twice a year, but every week. And when you're hyper focused on that, boy, when you track and measure something, it improves. When you track and measure it and then hold people accountable, that's accessibility. Accountability is success. The net gain is what we need to see. Agent count, company dollar.
Everybody talks about this 139th to 6th, the largest growth and all that. That's, what's most impressive to me is productivity per person growth. That's what our agents care about. So if I'm really focused on our mission, improving the financial trajectory of our agents' lives and providing the tools and services so that they can win more customers, if I'm really paying attention, then that productivity number is more important than any kind of a national ranking.
Love it. I love it. We have to inspect what people are doing. I think a lot of companies have an accountability call. They're trying to see how many calls are being made, to your point about tracking and measuring. And instead of, again, it's really not inspected. And so when it's collaboration like Lennox you're doing, and it's a hyper focus like Rick you're doing, and it's really the front facing goal and the mission is to grow, and you inspect what people say they're doing. How many calls are you actually having and who are you calling? A lot of companies out there, I think, get into this abyss where they have this, gap where it's like, we say we're making all these calls, or sometimes they're making them, and it's just recruiting ends up falling to the bottom of the list of priorities. And I think, how do you get that to be the priority for these companies to hear you
Sherry, we're talking about recruiting. Of course, the fundamental comes down to relationship first. How can I support them? That's what Rick's saying in helping support broker associates achieve greater in their business and life. And so it comes down, what I've heard through seminars and such is we treat our top 10 like they're part of our company. And that allows, with that concept, allows for office leader to have engagement with them. And they may not call it business planning, but maybe they set up a session where they can just talk about the next year to come. And it's backdoor conversation about how can I help you, but this is what we forecasting in the industry, what's working for you, and have that conversation. This is what we're focused on. So again, it's the engagement with that individual, because that's when they're going to come on board. When they feel like you know what you're doing, that it's the right environment for them, and then it's doing that throughout the year. So when we have certain seminars, we invite them, and they can either be on the Zoom call anonymously or whatever.
Nice.
But we get to send them the invite and then engage with them about, we're having this session. So that's where engagement comes in. It's just them knowing that we care about them, because our A group is high possibility that they might come over. And so that's who we are spending our time on. And then we have the farm team with those in the B group that we can move up and hopefully move up a couple more people on a periodic basis.
I love how you separated them into the A, B, and C. We do have a question from one of the listeners. What is the most often heard reason agents are giving for making a change? And I assume I'm thinking making a change to come to you. So that's how I'm going to question that.
Yeah, okay, I'll go first. I think the number one reason is that they've outgrown their environment. They've outgrown their organization. They have a need for better business planning or tools and services, and they're not getting them where they are. Probably the second reason is compensation. You know, I spent most of my life in traditional agent compensation model companies, but for the last, I don't know, 12 years or so, I've managed companies that had transaction fee models within them, or in this case, United Real Estate is a transaction fee model company. So compensation matters, and the business is evolving. But the number one reason people join is they've outgrown their environment. Either they're not getting the guidance when they need it, they're not getting the support. Companies are stuck in the past. They're not using social media. They're not using contemporary business development tools, or they don't have the platforms for agents to be able to office outside of a traditional office. Those are the kind of things that when an agent outgrows it, they're looking for a new home. I have a saying, Sherry, that nobody leaves home until they have a home to go to. And we just want to make sure that we're home to as many of those agents who are seeking advancement as possible.
Wow, that's yeah, Lennox.
Rick, I like that. They have a home, their next home to go to. That's really great. I can use that. So I believe brokers, agents shift right in this market for positive energy. I was at an office meeting yesterday. A broker from an agent, we call them broker associates out here.
Yeah.
An agent from another company was there. She came over. She said, "I love my current office leader, but your energy is like fourfold over here. You guys have a game plan. You know what you're doing. And it's being part of a team. That's the culture we have. We're part of a team of in a high performance environment of supporting each other." And that's what attracts individuals, is they want to be part of energy, because you flat out do more business when you're in an energetic environment, continually being proactive. Thank you.
Hey, you know, Lennox, the idea of a positive energy environment, you know, we've heard the expressions, you know, and what drives you every day. If you carry an attitude of gratitude into your day, and if your environment supports that, whether it's online or in an office or however whatever the touch points are for your organization, if they're getting their batteries drained, you're on your way to losing them. If they're getting their batteries charged, then you're going to be very attracting in the marketplace. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Me too. And you know what happens is success breeds success, and it's easier to recruit to a winning, thriving team. And when people see that, they want to be a part of that. I also believe that, you know, you're adding non-transferable value that they can't get anywhere else, and they can't take, you know, your office leader with you or the tools and the resources that you provide them at each of your companies. That is the definition of the value proposition. It's important we be able to communicate that in a way that agents who are looking to make a move know what you offer, and whether it's coaching, training, development, being a part of this winning team, having the success that you'll have when you come here. And, you know, I think, Rick, I want to also comment, I feel like agents believe at a certain point that they get to that point where, I don't know if it's they take it for granted, but they just, you said it, they outgrow their current broker, but I think they forget what they have. So
Yeah.
it's important to constantly re-recruit the people you have so that you
Yeah,
don't have that
sure.
retention.
What was the word you used just before this? You talked about it as a difference in two spaces. It was not a, I'm going somewhere with that, but you just used a word that said there's this big difference between this and this. But the communication, this is, again, you guys, this is not magic wand stuff, but it is a magic wand when you do it. I mean, it's not, it takes a lot, but communication, I took a program on organizational communication once from a guy named Phil McGrain, and Phil said this is a weird sentence, the most difficult thing about communication is the frequent illusion that it just occurred.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about, like, agents can sometimes forget all the tools and services and all the supports we give them. If you don't have an internal marketing and communications program in place, then of course, out of sight, out of mind, and then we wonder why they didn't know. So we've invested heavily in, April Gonzalez, our communication director, she thinks about and conceptualizes, along with Amanda Klein, our vice president of marketing, they conceptualize how many different ways and how frequently do we need to talk to our agents about the components of our services. And they have a dashboard, and there's 7 different modalities to reach out to them. And so here's the rule, the guiding principle. If a message is worth communicating, then it's our obligation to have 90% of our agents hear the message a minimum of 3 times, each from a different modality. And when you start doing that, and over the weeks and months of doing that, value proposition does sink in. And the product, service, or tool that you've launched, and Lennox, you probably have heard this like ad nauseum. You launch a product into your brokerage, and the agent adoption rate can be very low. And what did I spend all that money for? Well, part of the problem here, if you want a good book recommendation, it's old, but a book Jeffrey Moore wrote, Crossing the Chasm, a long time ago. And the chasm is the distance gap that we talk about. You launch something and the early adopters gravitate to it, but the early majority where you get a return on your investment, oftentimes it never gets to that level of penetration in an organization. So in Crossing the Chasm, Jeffrey Moore dissects how it is that you're supposed to cross that chasm and get more adoption. And we pay close attention to the communication and frequency and reach within our own organization. Those are, traditional marketing terms, but they're usually deployed outside the company. We deploy them inside the company. And that little bit of science goes a long way.
And so, Rick, I want to support that, what you're saying. So we have we all know what the 80-20 rule is, where only 20% implement and they get 80% of the results. Well, in the industry, sometimes it's 10% implement and they get 80% or 90% of results. But so we've flipped the 80-20 rule. That's our conversation internally. And how we flip that, Rick, you were bringing that up earlier, is we sense and track how we're doing on vital few programs to help our brokers. In one of these would be their database. I believe I've heard 15% of the industry agents have a database. Well, that's not going to make it. And we've implemented the strategy. 80% plus would have a database receiving their clients receiving information. But we took that on. Our office leaders, our champions there, our support team, they got fully involved, and we figured out the secret sauce to breaking the 80-20 rule. To flip the 80-20 rule. It's do it for them. And so we've taken that approach, and we with great success by our technology team, marketing team, the IT, the residential group, of taking this one item on that makes a huge difference in one's career for getting business, getting listings particularly, and meeting some buyers.
Yeah.
You mentioned team, Lennox. If you think about our officer team, I refer to it often as a rare assemblage of talent. Got Dan Duffy, a CEO that understands value, enterprise value creation, and so much of the higher level stuff that most brokerages don't have at their disposal. We got a great CFO, a technology, a CIO that is incredible, or CTO, and Dave Dickey. And then the next level down, Amanda in marketing, or Leanne in projects management, strategic projects management. And then, the companies that have been attracted to us, guys like Steve Wagner, his first lieutenant, Jamie Mertz, and Philip Cantrell. I can go right around the country and talk about all these companies that joined us who are now part of the think tank, and they're championing, their executive sponsoring a lot of the initiatives. So that team that you bring together is like, if they can't get me, they get Philip, or they get Steve, or they get Leanne, or Amanda, or Doug. I mean, these people are deep in their knowledge and abilities, and so I think just bringing the right team together who carries a positive countenance into the day and understand our mission, man, it's just it's exciting. It really is.
It is, and I think when you were talking about internal branding and internal communications, this is one of the things I see our clients just not do enough of. And I say it's 7 times, 7 different ways. And hopefully it reaches 3, Rick, to your point. But they have to hear the messaging, they have to hear success stories, they have to be engaged. And that is one of the areas when you talked about Lennox, I remember you doing and explaining to me the database initiative and just that one initiative and being just, that's it. We're not adding 10 more things to the list. We just need agents to get a database. I actually used it today. I'm in DC at a client, and I was commenting on the database. They do not have a database. We can make a difference in the lives of these people. And vital for you, these are all great reminders that it doesn't have to be this long list of an overwhelming task list of things to implement. One of the questions I have for you, are you, because we have a little bit more time. What CRMs are you using for recruiting? That's a question that always gets brought up. Are you using a CRM? Do you have a built-in CRM that you use for agents? Rick, what are you using?
We have a couple of different platforms. One we use from a data analytics perspective, tying into the list creation and identifying who we want to put on our top talent list, as Lennox would say. We use Trend Graphics. That's a California-based company. It's been around for a long time. Jean Lee and her company. And then in addition to that, we have our proprietary system that we use that sits on our intranet site, which is called Bullseye, and it has a CRM. And then we're probably a little bit of an advanced thing here. We're probably making a hard shift to HubSpot for some of the more robust methods of doing that. So we do recruiting on a local basis and on a national basis. And so those are the three that we're currently using.
Yeah. So
for
our system, it's a Salesforce backed system, and then we've adopted it to residential real estate. But the key of how we move forward the database project is each office, we had the individual agents underneath each office. How many contacts do they have in the database? How many are signed up to get our monthly housing updates? And it's broker branded to them. The name belongs to them, only their contact information, and we'll never reassign it to anyone else. That's how we ended up getting hundreds of thousands of contacts into our system that we send out monthly housing updates. And it was a total company focus. That was the only thing we zeroed in on, because without a database, all the you can't do very much, because only right, and especially in this market with there fewer listings coming on the market than the normal sequence, we need to outperform the market. But bigger than that, I want to perform at my level of who I am as an individual agent. And the only way to do that is to have a database and be engaged with them, because half our business right now needs to come from referrals from the people we know, because the people we know aren't moving in the normal sequence. So for me to up my business, I need to get referrals. Well, that 85% of agents in the nation without a database, we have a phrase: no database, no engagement equals very little, if any, business. And I'm being nice. Equals zero business about. But we know that. That's how our industry works. So we've created the platform and like do it for them. We help them put their names in. We help develop the content. We send it out on their behalf. And that's just one of 4 programs that we've sent out on their behalf. where the name belongs to them. Only their contact information. We'll never reassign it, is our pledge to them. And that's so we built this real trust in helping move their business forward.
You were talking about recruiting and retention kind of in the trenches. And I've referred to tool services and support a lot. But one of the things that's happened of late, probably in the last decade, but accelerated in the last 5 years, is that certain companies have what I would call offers that are too good to be true. So hey, and I don't want to offend anybody, but stock programs where an agent deferred income, bought a discount, was promised it if they recruited people, was promised it if they hit certain production levels. Those things have caught people's eye, and they've been very successful in getting agents to leave. But if you do some of the math, and we've been going through this lately, a $10,000 investment in one of these companies that I won't name, of course, it's not about good or bad, but I won't name a $10,000 investment in that stock is today worth $1,700. And if those shares were granted to you based on keeping your production level what it was in 2021 and 2022, good luck, you're not going to get that. So those false promises of net worth development, we looked at it and said, we're going to go a different route. We launched healthcare for agents. We have Dave Ramsey's Smart Dollar program that we bought for every one of our agents across the country so they can work on their own financial literacy and have a dashboard to track net worth development. We have financial management services that we're bringing in through another company that I can't yet name. Sorry, it's contracted but not disclosed yet. But that has to do with like investment banking services once an agent gets enough total assets under management that they can move over. So we've taken a more holistic approach, not to mention the fact that we flow 96% of the gross commission income to the agents on every sale. So the question is, how do you do that and still make money? And the life I used to live in of traditional agent compensation, you could never make money doing that. The fact that we run a very automated, very lean and efficient organization allows us to make those investments, do that kind of stuff for our agents, not charge them extra for it. Newsflash, the transaction fee model that we run doesn't nickel and dime an agent at all. They pay it, it's very tight and very succinct. So we're able to deliver those things and really stay focused on our mission to improve the financial trajectory of our agents, brokers, careers, and lives. But financial wellness is another good example of not taking the quickest path, but taking the right path to really make a difference, whether that or lead generation services through our lead boost that drives lead acquisition cost down. It's just when you're focused on your mission and your mission is right, you're going to be rewarded with rapid growth, not just growth, but profitable growth.
And it's obviously paying off. I have a question from one of our viewers. Can you talk about the effect teams have had on recruiting? And do you work to recruit teams? And how do you roll them into your company culture? I'll have Lennox, why don't you lead us off with that one first?
Well, we love teams. We have hundreds of teams within the company. Just extra energy within each team. They implement at an extremely high level, and we attract teams to us because we have a platform that really supports their business development, the culture that they want, and the expertise in the industry. So we're very happy with teams. Exciting when we help our own brokers become teams.
I love it. I love it. Rick, what do you do with teams? How do you?
Sherry, when teams first started forming, the idea of grouping specialized tasks together under one agent group, they were a threat to traditional brokerages because they stacked their income and the income moved through the commission ladders quicker. And so a lot of stigma got attached to teams are bad back then. Right. But man, it's a world apart now. Teams, well-managed, well-thought-out teams deburden the organization from certain management services, from certain agent development services. I mean, it's all available to them. But teams, well-run teams, deburden us in a lot of ways. We love them. We want them in our company, and our compensation plan is well equipped to handle whatever size team. We have a team of 41 agents that is $279 million in closings. 41 agents run by two key leaders and then another support person. And man, they're run just like a small brokerage that from a volume perspective, some might not even call them small anymore. They're just, so we love them. And as long as you're in a win-win from a financial perspective, and you don't reburden them of rules and regulations that keep creative, entrepreneurial minded team leaders from doing their stuff, man, that's a home run.
And so,
I think,
Sherry?
thanks.
Yeah, Sherry, I just want to share some. We have just a little bit of time left here, mainly on productivity. We support our top broker associates to help them generate more business with the concepts and the moving things forward. But one of our vital few is everyone productive, because that's how our profitability works. So by helping every single broker associate have 100 or more contacts in their database, our average is 250 for those that get engaged. But then it's beyond that, because that's just to help that their client database remembers their name, because 71% of buyers forget their agent's name in a year. So we have a database just so they remember a name, but that sets the stage for personal engagement. And personal engagement might be a happy home anniversary call. It might be from a community service event like a food drive or clothing drive. I call it office coordinated, and thank you office leaders and support team. Office coordinated, you might have an office coordinated client event, but those are opportunities where the individual agent not only sends the invitation, but calls. It's just like our agents. If we have an event, if we don't call them, they only 30% look at an email and 10% really register. So we have our office leaders call our top producers so that they really know the event's taking place. It's the same with our client base. It's not just sending out an invitation, it's the engagement of the phone call or stop by or social media post, whatever, text, however they choose to communicate. But that's where it sets up the stage with through engagement creates more referrals. And it's the frequency of the engagement throughout the year is what we're focused on as a company, because we need to get half our business right now referrals from those within our database. And nothing's going to change. It's going to be this way for years. But bigger than that, it's about having a powerful career. And an explosive career is through their people they know, keep meeting new people, but engagement with them on a continual basis.
I just said this in the last 2 weeks. Everyone's, how do I get people to move when there's no inventory? How do I get people to move when their interest rate is so low and they don't want to move out of their house? And, the obvious thing is to go talk to different people on the second item. But what I said to these agents was, I said, look, if you could grow your business to 95% referrals and people were bringing you buyers and bringing you sellers, you would never have to worry about what was going on with interest rates or any of the noise that's happening outside, because your own fans would be bringing you people that wanted to move and sell. And the statistics say that everyone knows 6 people who will be making a move in this year. I would be happy if that number was 3, because I think 6 is a little high. But if our agents could really just, instead of saying, I'll call 5 leads I don't know, right? But I don't want to call 5 people that I know and have just conversations with them. I think one of the biggest goals we're seeing in our coaching program and with agents, beyond filling their pipeline, with our goldmine pipeline system that is unbelievable, but even more so is to say, how can you move? Do you even know, first of all, what your referral rate is with referrals? And once you know that number, let's say it's 62%, how do you get it to 80%? How do you get it to 90% and better? And I think that will recession proof or anything proof an agent's business right there, because they will have raving fans hands, bringing them business virtually without having to spend money on leads and without having to worry about what the noise is out in the community. So, and again, I think even with the inventory, let's stop saying there's no inventory. Our agents are out there. I've been begging them since 2020 to say, if you want to move, I have inventory. I'll find you a property. We have other resources to find properties and sellers that want to move. We just have to think and speak differently. And I think you guys are doing that clearly with your coaching and training programs with your agents. Last thoughts.
Okay, so this is something that goes back to my very first broker. The guy's name is Jim Maroka. He's still in the business. He's still there. He's a wonderful man, but he taught me so much. Here's a thought. If the market falls off from 100% of what it was to 80%, that means there's 80% left. The question isn't whether is there enough business for me to have a great year. There's enough business for you to have the best year you've ever had, even in a 20% fall off, a 30% fall off. The question is whether you're doing enough for that business to find you. And that's a difference between a navigator mentality and a victim mentality. Oh, the market's bad, victim. Hey, there's 80%. I know there's enough market for me to have the best year I ever had. There's a famous donut company that started during the Depression. It was started by a guy named Adolf Levitt. Right in the worst part of the Depression, he started the Mayflower Donut Company, which went on to be the most successful donut manufacturing and boxed mix company in history. And he, when he was asked, what do you credit your success to? And why did you start in that? He said he printed something on the top of every one of his donut boxes, and it was referred to as the Optimist's Creed, and it says, as you travel through life, brother, whatever be your goal, keep your eye upon the donut and not upon the hole. And I love that because there's 80% of the market left. Of course, there's plenty of, every one of our agents can have the best year they've ever had if they get focused on what it takes for that market to find them. And that I should shut up. Lennox,
No,
you got bring us home, buddy.
First of all, it's mindset. And look, agents either have a scarcity mindset, there's not enough, it's going to be hard, or there aren't any houses, or they have an abundant mindset. And, if you 10x your efforts in something you're already good at, how do you get, 10% is different than 10 times something. And I laugh. We have in our coaching program, do you sell 3 to 5 houses off of every one of your listings? And the answer is always no, because they slap a sign up. And, I used to do this, and then I remembered that, we're supposed to call the neighbors and leverage the neighbors to pick the neighbor. And there's so many things our agents could be doing. They just approached it with a different mindset, but we can't change the mindset. They need to. But I love what you just said, because it is really, it is what you make of it. And if you think, and I never liked this phrase before, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I've never liked that phrase, but it is really true. And I think anybody can have and go out and own the market share. It's in their mindset, it's in their daily routine, it's what are the things they're doing to make sure that that's happening. And both of your companies, I believe, close the gap of providing tools, resources, coaching, training, and the success programs that will help agents to achieve that. And I think you're both doing a fabulous job with that, clearly. So
hey, let's
we
get
got about a
final word.
Okay, so to
Final
affirm
words,
the
yes.
conversation we're having right now, I have the expression, what I choose to do and be is me, and what I choose to do is this because I say so. And that's all it takes. I choose to do these activities because I say so, because I know what my number is I want to hit. I know the activities I'm committed to. I'm going to schedule my success each week because I say so. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Lennox. It's awesome. It's awesome. I think we have the video replay of the webinar will be out shortly. Keep an eye out from our friends at RISMedia, who are awesome at putting these events on for all of the industry, bringing great minds and iconic leaders like you just heard today. I believe, Rick, is this a QR code for
Hang on.
let's
Let me just take a quick look. I don't know. You
I
know
have a
what?
QR
When you have a good team, sometimes you don't know what they're doing. So that looks like a QR code to something connected to our office, I guess, but I don't know what it is. So everybody scan the QR code and see.
information about, yes, our sponsor. This is the information you can learn about Rick's company and more about the opportunities that exist in your marketplace. Probably, I didn't scan it myself, but I think, let's see if we have an answer. I didn't do it, but go ahead and take a look at it. Everybody, please, please take what you just heard today, implement and put it into action, right? What is done, what is written down and committed to and put into action. Let's not be in the mode of getting ready to get ready, but actually in the mode of executing and making it happen to have the best year ever. You both are amazing. I am honored and privileged to have had this hour with you. Thank you both. I want to thank Rick again for sponsoring, Lennox for your time and your commitment, and both of you for your amazing professionalism and what you do out in our industry for all around the country. And we'll see you both on hopefully a next RIS Media webinar. And again, special thanks to RIS Media for putting on these monthly agent and in this case broker webinar series. Thanks everybody. Let's go make it happen and have a wonderful listing and sales afternoon and week. Thanks. I'll see you soon. I'm Sherry Johnson.
Thank you. Bye, Lennox. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Rick. Thank you. Bye, Sherry.
Bye guys. Bye-bye.